Hello friends, and welcome to a brand new video of Happy Life. Well, today we'll talk about one of the inevitable metrics or one of the inevitable tools that we can have in the field of time management, that is Stephen Covey matrix, or sometimes it is also called as Eisenhower matrix or simply time management matrix. It is one of the most effective prioritization tools. People who struggle with deciding what work they should do at first, they can very well use this matrix and get a lot of benefit out of it. Well, you must be busy, you must be a very efficient time manager, you must be doing work all day long, but at the end of the day, sometimes you might be feeling that you are not getting what you really desired, you are not working towards your most desirable goal, or you are not satisfied with the work you have done, not the amount of work, with the very work, I mean to say, that you have done. So prioritization is very important in time management, and today we'll be discussing about the most important tool to prioritize, and that is Stephen Covey prioritization matrix. You can see in the screen that any work, any kind of work that we put in our to-do list or that we plan to do can be divided into 4 quadrants. On the x-axis it is urgent, not urgent, so the first quadrant comes out to be urgent and important. Similarly, the second quadrant is not urgent but important. Third quadrant, urgent but not important. Fourth quadrant, neither urgent nor important. So all our works we can classify or we can divide it into these 4 categories, and then we can introspect where all our time goes into. So we'll discuss each quadrant one by one in detail. So let us first discuss our first quadrant, that is urgent as well as important. Now, can you give me some examples? Can you think of some examples that fall into this category? Well, some of the examples would be, let us not take it from a work. It could be as simple as like somebody has faced an accident, he's on the road, he needs to be taken to a hospital. That becomes very important, and that's urgent too, because time counts, time matters there. Every minute or every second could be a question of life and death. So it is very urgent as well as important. May I please explain you what exactly urgency and importance means? Urgency is the factor of time. Whether you have enough time to do that work, that decides whether it is urgent or not. If you have a lot of time, it becomes not urgent. If you have very less time, or which is just enough for completing the task, then it becomes quite urgent. But on the other hand, importance is the factor of task. By that I mean what effect it will have on your life, on your work life, on your personal life if it is not done. If it has a lot of effect, if the stake is very high, if you don't do that work, then it is very important. And if nothing happens in your life, if you don't even do that work, then it is not important. So let us have a clarity. Urgent is the factor of time, importance is the factor of how much effect it will have on your life. This is how you should decide urgent and important. Another example for the first quadrant could be, you have done a serious mistake and you need to rectify that. You have sent a mail that has some errors in that, very important mail that are very sensitive, that involve very sensitive matters. You have done some kind of mistake. So to recall that mail or to rectify that mail and resend it, that becomes urgent as well, because it could have serious effects if you don't mail it right away or then and there, send it as soon as possible. So it becomes important as well as urgent. So that thing you have to attend as soon as possible. You have to do it immediately. And usually we call this quadrant as crisis quadrant, which needs firefighting. And most of the managers or most of the people or most of the working people are very satisfied in or are very proud in doing all this work, in doing the work that is in this quadrant all day long. And really they become very proud because they are firefighting always. It gives a sense of accomplishment which could be very false. Frankly, we should avoid this quadrant as much as possible. Although it can't be avoided, we should try or strive to have less and less work falling into this quadrant, because it involves quality, because we don't have time, it causes a lot of stress, anxiety, and finally health problems, and we are not satisfied with our work life, or else otherwise our life itself. Try to reduce as much as work falling into this quadrant, and we'll also talk about the technique how to reduce it. Before we go to the second quadrant, I'd like to cover all other quadrants. We'll discuss the second quadrant at the last because one of the most important quadrant. So we'll go to the fourth quadrant. From first we are jumping directly to the fourth, and this is the quadrant which is neither important nor urgent. That means neither it has any impact on your life, nor there is some time within which we have to complete that task. For example, mindless TV browsing, mindless TV watching or web browsing. Well, first of all, I'd like to say we should differentiate clearly between a healthy entertainment, a healthy getting a loose of ourselves, having some good time, and consistently wasting our time on that, on those entertainment, on those kind of things that doesn't add any value to our life. Half an hour watching TV per day or 1 to 1.5 hours per day for some people could be very productive because they could refresh themselves, but habitually doing that at the cost of priority works is just a time waster. So I'm not going to decide for you how much is a time waster for you. So I'm only going to say that too much watching TV, too much web browsing, too much has to be decided by you. If you're doing the entertainment work, if you're doing those work at the cost of your priority work, or on the other way, I mean to say, if your priority work or important work are getting hampered because of your this kind of entertainment, then that is time waster, and all those time wasters falls into this quadrant or this category. Not urgent, not important. If you can avoid some kind of argument, gossip, all these are neither important, it doesn't put any impact in your life, nor this kind of work requires any time frame to complete. So better eliminate these things as soon as possible. Some kind of entertainment, as I said before, some time or some amount of entertainment is very much required for refreshing you, but too much we have to eliminate. We have to completely remove all these things from our life to get productive. Or sometimes we can also say that delete. If the first quadrant D is do, fourth quadrant D is delete those work. So let us come to the third quadrant. Very confusing. Please be with me here. It is called urgent but not important. Very confusing, yeah. Very confusing. Please mind here. Some works can be very urgent yet not important in your life. I will give you an example. You have a phone beside you in office and it rings. You have a landline phone. It doesn't have any caller ID. It rings. You have to anyway pick up. You are into a very serious work, having all your concentration put into that work. But a phone rings. In that very critical time, you attend your phone, and finally it comes out to be a wrong number. It could be a friend sharing some casual inputs that is no way relevant to that time or no way important compared to the work that you're already doing, and your concentration breaks. And you when finish the phone call, again you have to gain that level of concentration or come into that zone to start that very important work that you're doing before that phone call. So this comes into the category of urgent but not important. It could be also something like some kind of last minute editing of your PowerPoint presentation. It is very urgent. Some comma, some full stop, which may not be that important also. Similarly, somebody has come to your room, you have to open the door. You don't know who is it, but you have to. It could be very well a salesman trying to sell his product. It's not important, but it's very urgent. You have to. You don't know. Somebody important could come after opening that door. Somebody relevant or something important could be there after opening that door. So this kind of things which are usually called interruptions, all these things falls into this quadrant. And if possible, the only technique and the most effective technique to handle this quadrant is delegate. So big CEOs or very busy people or people whose time is very important, they usually delegate this thing by hiring a PA, personal assistant. They do all this kind of filtering works. If something important is there, then only they'll be diverting it to the main person or to their boss. So these kind of work, try to delegate. So for third quadrant, the D is delegate. So now we'll come to the golden quadrant, that is quadrant 2. This quadrant has been named as a golden quadrant by Stephen Covey in his book 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, because all our development, all our success is hidden in this quadrant. And interestingly, all of us give the least importance to this quadrant only. Most of the very busy people or hard-working people are busy in firefighting quadrant. That is quadrant 1. Nobody, all their day, all their energy, all their time just gets consumed in the first quadrant. After being exhausted in the first quadrant, they go for the quadrant 4, that is time wasters, for some kind of entertainment and feel-good factor. Or sometimes they fall prey to the third quadrant. Those are interruptions. So the fourth quadrant, it is in our control. We can reduce if you want, if you will. Third quadrant, you can delegate. First quadrant, which is very important and urgent too, we don't have any control. The only way to eliminate, or I won't say eliminate, because there could be really some task which you don't know. There's something which is out of control. It could be accidents, could be out of control. Sometimes error could be out of control. If we concentrate more and more on the second quadrant, that is not urgent but very important, all our success, all our field, all our health, all our developments, everything lies here, and we could achieve anything we want. For example, I am studying physics. I am studying for my intermediate exams. If I don't work from the first day of the year, it's a 1 year or 2 year program. If I don't study from the first day of the year and I procrastinate, get it delayed and neglect this second quadrant because it is not urgent. It might be important, but that importance is not felt on the first phase of our year. Gradually, on the last month, on the last fortnight, on the last week, we feel it becomes very urgent. We don't have any time, but we have to complete. If we don't, then it could be a permanent scar in our life, because it will be recorded throughout our life, that intermediate exam results. So we neglect from the first day of the year, we face trouble. It stays in the second quadrant for a while. That is not urgent but important. But if we go neglecting, it gradually shifts to the first quadrant, and then it becomes urgent and important. All kind of stress, all kind of errors, mistakes come out of these things only, because it's in first quadrant. We have to anyhow complete it because it is important and we don't have time. All kind of health, running is good. Daily if you run, it is good. It's not urgent but very important. You may very well miss 1 or 2 days of running, 1 week of running, 1 month of running, or sometimes 1 year of running. Gradually what happens, and on one fine day you realize that your blood pressure, your sugar has increased, and you go to the doctor, to an emergency room. That becomes first quadrant. Very urgent and very important. It's a matter of life and death. So all kinds of developmental work, health, preparation, success, everything lies in the second quadrant. Please don't neglect the second quadrant. If you do, all our work goes to the first quadrant, and which is the reality of most of the companies, most of the people. Everybody is firefighting, because most of the work, they are just, all their time and energy is just consumed in firefighting. All the work those are in first quadrant. Even if they want, they find it very hard to come to the second quadrant as well. Right now, if you are a firefighter, if all your work falls into the first quadrant, do it. Try to give some time to second quadrant. Gradually or very slowly, most of the works will reduce in the first quadrant and gradually shift to the second quadrant. And then don't neglect the second quadrant. Try to invest more and more time in the second quadrant. That is not urgent but important. So friends, it's a long video. I will just conclude it by saying again, one of the terms in time management that is called big rocks. All those big rocks are in second quadrant. So attend all the big rocks, put it in second quadrant, work on it. Don't let it or allow it to go to first quadrant. But even after doing all these things, there will be some work, some emergency that will still be in the first quadrant, but that's understandable and that doesn't affect too much to your success or life. So friends, I hope you have got a very good tool to decide your priority. So please think for some time, invest at least half an hour right now and find out all the activity that you do, how much of it falls in the first quadrant, second, third, fourth. And try to put more and more works gradually in the second quadrant so that you get long-term success. So friends, what's your take for this video? Please do write to me in the comment box. Please like, share and subscribe to this channel Happy Life for getting more of such motivational and productivity improvement video. See you soon till our next video. Thank you.